Welcome, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order on May 16th, 2024, the Palo Alto Public Art Commission. I will take attendance. Vice Chair Shen,
Present.
Commissioner Miyagi,
Here.
Commissioner Waltuck will arrive, Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Stern,
Present.
Commissioner De La Garza.
Present.
Thank you. Are there any agenda changes, additions, or deletions?
There are none.
Thank you. Any public comments?
No public in attendance.
Thank you. I would now like to have the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, April 18th, 2024.
I move.
Second.
Thank you. Now we will all have a vote. Commissioner Smith.
I declined because I wasn't here.
Okay. Abstain.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stern.
Abstain.
Commissioner De La Garza.
Abstain.
Chair Gordon, yes. Vice Chair Shen.
Yes.
Commissioner Miyagi.
Yes.
Thank you. Minutes are passed. Okay, we are moving on to any city official comments.
It's a lot of writing with 7 of you all of a sudden. So thank you. Good evening. So to lead off the city official comments, we want to welcome our new commissioners and yes. So we were very excited to have our Vice Chair Shen reappointed for another term. We also have new commissioners, Amber Smith, Harriet Stern, and Tara De La Garza. So welcome. We're very excited to have you with us and be 7 voices once again on the commission. That's great. So let's see. And the other item we have is, do we have a visual for that? Ta-da! The Midtown Poetry Wall was reinstalled last week. It is looking very vibrant and wonderful. And the property owner, we worked closely with him. He had a lot of repairs done, repainted the entire wall and left the space perfect for us to be able to go in and install the aluminum mural. So if you haven't seen it, go have a peek.
And it looks different.
It's not faded.
Is that what it is? Unbelievable. Wow.
very fresh. Oops, there we
And-
go.
and
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And so far, how's the public reception?
I believe when Nadia was on site, there was quite a bit of excitement about the installation. It took place early morning and it went very quickly. So they weren't on site all that long, but the reception was really great there.
Fantastic.
Well done. That was quite a project and it looks really refreshed. That's wonderful. And I'm glad you had ease working with the owner of the building as well. That's great. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Welcome our council liaison, Pat Burt is here. Thank you for joining us. Is that the end of the city comments?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Moving on to non-action items, public art and private development. We're having an update on the design of the Fry's site, the cannery site.
So yes, so this is an update to the design that was approved on September 21st, 2023 at 3200 Park Boulevard, which is also popularly known as the former Fry's site. We are joined by Jennifer Easton, who will walk you through some of the changes. Of course, it was in your packet, but I think there were a few alterations made to the design after some more in-depth consultation with the family of Thomas Boone Chu. So with that, Jennifer Easton, is she live?
Yeah.
There she is.
Hello. Hello. Commissioners, good evening, and council liaison as well as staff. Jennifer Easton, I am the art consultant to the project, the 3200 Park Boulevard site being developed by Sobrato. Elise, I just want to park one question. Since you do have new commissioners, I'm curious how much background they might have or what you would like me to walk through besides just say, hey, look, it's new or different. Is there anything I can help with? I can just show you the site, talk a little bit about it, but if there's any back information that you'd like me to present, please let me know.
I think if you could just give a brief overview of the significance of the site, what the history of that
Sure.
cannery is,
Yeah,
just in a
yeah.
few sentences. And you know, they know that the artwork came once before, but we want to be very transparent anytime there are shifts in the design,
Yeah.
especially because the significance of this project,
Yeah.
that people have the opportunity to view it.
Sure, absolutely. So the site is one that I often call a hidden history in a community, and it's actually an old cannery from the turn of the 20th century. So it was built, I think, in about around 1920 by a man named Thomas Foon Chu. Thomas Foon Chu was a Chinese immigrant to the United States. His father opened an initial cannery in San Francisco that was destroyed during the San Francisco earthquake. So after that, the family moved down to the San Jose area, actually in Alviso, opened their initial cannery there, and Thomas joined his father in the cannery business at that point. And then he had an amazing business acumen and social acumen as well. And he grew the cannery and other canneries that he built, both in Palo Alto, in Isleton. I think he had one in Monterey and one up in Northern California for various types of products, both canned fish and mostly vegetables and fruits as well, that he was doing. He grew it to the third largest cannery in the United States at the time. Unfortunately, he passed not long after he built the Palo Alto cannery. Then the cannery was sold and, subsequently, was a cannery for many, many years. And after about World War II, it started to decline, but was very important in the development of a lot of practices in canning and also in a lot of social practices. Thomas Foon Chu there was housing that he built for his workers, both at the Alviso site and the Palo Alto site. He would go and pick up his workers from their houses if they weren't on the site with the same cars they used to deliver the product. So he really was an innovator. A lot of his employees were women and other immigrants. So he was really a supporter of a lot of immigrant communities. And he had I think it was 2 funerals, both massively attended, one in San Francisco and one in the South Bay, because of how important he was to the community at the time. So, and then interestingly, the history sort of, disappeared in a way with his passing and the passing of time. And so, even when historic surveys had been done in Palo Alto, this building never really made the registers. So it's really, so even though, and there's been lots of discussion about how this building is being renovated, they really are keeping the core elements of the monitor roof and some of the interior structures that really characterize the building. So that's really exciting. And so when they brought a public art, when they looked at doing public art, they really wanted, and this commission was very vocal about that, is like, how do we think about this history? How do we keep it on site publicly, but also make it a work of art that people want to interact with and engage with? And I think, and I hope we've done that. In addition to, and I'm going to show you a little bit of this tonight, there will be required by the EIR historic interpretive signage. And so there's actually a really fun and compelling design that's evolving for that. And I wanted to share a little bit of that. It's not finalized, but we'll give you a sneak preview. So that's the kind of few sentence backstory. It's just so fascinating because it leads, I mean, I can't tell you how many books I've bought now about, you know, the history of agriculture. And I worked in San Jose for many years, so I thought I knew it, but there's really, it's such a rich and important history, and it's really been wonderful to be a part of this and to look forward to bringing this to the community. So with that, I will move on. But if there are any questions that I can answer, you know, otherwise I'll babble all night and you got better things to do. So, so you can see this, yeah, the presentation.
Not yet.
Uh-oh, one moment. Let's try that again. Where's my share screen? There it is. Okay, I can do it now. Share. Come on, you can do it. All right, how about now?
Yes.
All righty. It's always, you know, how many years are we into all this? I'm still like, yay, I did it. All right, so for as a reminder, this is the as a reminder or an introduction to some of you, this is the design of the building with the historic monitor roof line that's being retained on the building. They're adding some characteristic but additional fenestration, so you'll be able to see interior to the building, which has these beautiful crosswood beams that were you know, part of the original architecture. One of the things, I'll just geek out on architecture for a minute, that these buildings were known for is because of the earthquake, they actually made them with these very massive timbers that withstood, you know, shaking by their, you know, by their construction. So it was also a very interesting innovation architecturally as well. So that's all being kept intact. So this was the original concept for the public art on the outside of the building. This is what we would call the public side or the retail corner of the building. This would be facing, okay, let me orient myself, south. Yes, so this is the south side that's facing out, and then turn the corner and that's facing to the east towards Park. And so this is what we wanted to do is and across the street ultimately will be developed a park, land that was given by the developer to the city for the development of a park. So hopefully the thought is that there will be a retail partner that comes in here. There's a park, they're creating seating, and it's really a way to come and sit and learn about, you know, see this history come alive a bit. So just as a reminder, this is the original design. And then I'm going to actually come out and go into another image because, you know what, I'm going to go back one. Hang on. It's easier to see the new image first. Here, hang on, let me make it a little bigger for you guys. It's trying to make it a little bigger, but so you can see the design is staying generally, and I'll go through in detail a little bit more. It's staying generally the same, but there's some new updates and some new images that I wanted to walk you through. And the reason that we have these is that following our last presentation, our presentations to various committees and things like that, I had Thomas Foon Chu's granddaughter, Gloria Halm, lives in Palo Alto, has been a lifelong Palo Alto, I believe it's lifelong Palo Alto resident. And she and I have a great working relationship. She's been super supportive of the project and of helping the artist kind of get her bearings on this project and how this project might go. And she got in touch with us and she was like, you know, I'm playing liaison to my family and there's been these comments. And so we all sat down and had a conversation about some of the things that were like, maybe not, you know, maybe they wanted to see more of something or less of something. We got to visit with another granddaughter who lives in, I'm forgetting Stockton. So I went down and made a visit with her, looked at some of the images that she has. And so the artist went back in and really wanted to look at the design a little bit more. Reflecting on what they wanted, they had echoed to her. And so what I've done here is kind of break it apart a little bit. So the bottom is our original image down here, but it's kind of folded open, it's flattened. And so, and then, you know, the corner of the building would be kind of right about right here. And now we have the new images, and I have a better, a clearer one that we can go to, but I just wanted to walk through this. So you can still see that the young people, this is Thomas Funchu's children, from a school picture. They're still highlighted here. The flowers have now become more background. They've kind of dropped into the background. They're more linear or lighter in color. The addition of another canning label to kind of create this transition into, and then over to this side, this is more fields and, you know, growing orchards, and an image of Thomas Funchu. This is actually a singular photo, which you see here that turns the corner, but the artist really wanted to highlight the family on this facade of the building, and then the cannery and later technology on the so the impact, I would say, of the cannery on the other side. So you turn the corner and you have some of Thomas Funchu's workers, his brothers in this image. And then, which I think has been a really successful transition, while most of the images before were quite flat in their nature, she's now introduced these images that actually kind of go linearly and into the design. So they really draw your eye in. So here we have workers on the canning line, mostly women you'll see. And then here showing the technology of bringing the rail cars right into, this is actually the cannery itself, and bringing the rail cars in, and that rail stub is actually still there, and probably why he put the cannery there. And then a Bayside, so the cannery was called Bayside Cannery. I think I missed that part before. So another Bayside Cannery label. Here, he was also, his nickname was the Asparagus King, because out in Ileton especially, but also in this factory, and I think in San Jose as well, he did can asparagus. And he and his collaborators, one of his partners, developed this wonderful, and this is actually a patent drawing that we found in the patent office, in the United States Patent Office, for an asparagus sorter that was submitted by his partner at the time. So she's introduced that as well. So really what the family said is like, we want to see more about the cannery and the innovations. And so I think, and then I've actually had a subsequent meeting with Gloria. I still need to meet with Sylvia, but who's been traveling. And but Gloria really felt this is telling the story in a more kind of complete way, which I think she really appreciated. And then there was a discussion in one of our community meetings, and I think even in this committee, about like the idea of like bringing the innovations of Palo Alto, and how this is like the forerunner of these innovations by immigrants in the community that now turn into, you know, what's happening in Silicon Valley and all, and, you know, and the history of the site as Fry's. So she adds this really interesting kind of texture with the 0-1 binary code, and then the background of a chip here, an early IBM. It's IBM. No, that's not right. Hewlett Packard. Sorry, Hewlett Packard computer. And in the very corner, we have a little nod to Fry's, which with the little Fry's logo falling off. You know, right? It was too cute. It's just like, I love that, because you know there's gonna be people who come here and with their kids and like, this used to be Fry's, and you're like, yeah, it is. So I'm sorry, I just love that bit. So anyway, so that's the revised design. And I can, once I walk through I'm gonna now switch over to the historic documentation designs that we're gonna have on site, but I can also dig in. I have another image of this that might be able to see it a little clearer, but let me go into so we will have interpretive signage on site. And this is kind of the broad topics that it's falling under, which is really around the agriculture and the role that the Santa Clara Valley and this area played in feeding the nation. And then a lot more on Thomas Funchu and his, you know, what he did for the community, how he supported cultural, you know, diversity, bringing women into the workforce, things like that, and some of his innovations. So those are the topics that are covered by the content. And then the design itself is by a company called Volume Inc. in San Francisco. And so they have this idea, they were asked to do both interior and exterior content, which makes it really challenging because you have a retailer that you don't really know what it's going to be. But they've also made a commitment that if it even doesn't rent out, we all know what retail's doing right now. So that they would have an ability to have access, to provide access to the public for these interior exhibits. So really, Volume's been thinking like, how can we make this flexible so it fits in, whether it's a coffee shop or, whatever it might end up being, that it has a kind of interest and flexibility to be in different types of environments. So there'll be this, as you see out here, the outdoor totem is indicated right here where the bench seating is. This is where the mural is, just, that wraps around this side. So it'll be far enough away that it won't interfere, and it's on an angle as well. And it's also not that massive. So we're really not concerned about, we've gone through this with the artist, and I think everybody feels really solid about that. And then there'll be this interior display as well. So, so the exterior one was inspired by this image that Sylvia, Gloria's sister, had of the cans before they were labeled, which everybody we're all kind of loving this like metallic wonderfulness. And so the totem will basically be based on an idea of stacked cans, and will feature a dialogue. And there may be more than one. We're still sussing that out. They're still in design, but that'll really feature Thomas Swin Chu and his story, canning labels, photos, that can be found of the canneries and that kind of history will really kind of be played out in these can designs. And then so you kind of get a sense of scale for this, 6 feet. It'll probably go up to about 8 feet, with the text, obviously, right? Visible in the range from somebody, say, a young person or a person in a wheelchair to somebody who's taller. So kind of in that, that mid range is where most of the the content for reading, I can't come up with a word tonight, will be found, which you can see in those green circles. And then the inspiration for the interior was these crates. Again, another picture that we had found from the family. And so the interior one, so you can see where it's starting to kind of play with this idea of stacking crates and how that can become a display. And so this is the idea for the interior piece, and it will probably be mounted on a wall, but they're looking at a way that it could potentially maybe be moved on a plinth, like you see it here, into the front window. So if there is not retail in there and it's not accessible, that maybe they could move it to the front window and you could just read it in the front window. And so over here, you can see sort of the depth that they're talking about. Like, I think that's about a 10 or 12 inch depth they're thinking of. So again, these boxes might, be forward or back of each other, but the idea is that it's kind of these crates that are playing with one another. So that's where we are with that. And then I can just kind of show you, I can dig in a little bit about kind of the changes that we saw in the mural. And sorry, I did not, I am remiss that this mural will be done in glass mosaic. So looking at all these pictures, and I'm like, oh, I didn't tell them how it's going to be made. And I can go back and find, if the commissioners who are new would like to see that, I can go back and pull up my old presentation from last time to show you what the glass mosaics look like, not in this piece, but what they'll look like. But this might give you a better idea kind of seeing the images and the apricot flowers and how they're a little different. And, that the asparagus sign comes a little more forward. It really plays on these colors of pinks and reds and greens. And then, like I said, our little tiny fries in the corner. So that's where we are right now. So I just I appreciate your having me back, because I really felt like it was a significant enough change. I'm like, Elise, you probably want to bring this back. She says, yes, we do. So anyway, I'm happy to take any questions, or like I said, if you need me to look for that other, I probably can pull it up pretty quickly if you want to see the glass mosaics or any other questions you have about the project.
Jennifer, thank you so much. This is such a great presentation, a wonderful update and reminder of the work that's going there, and a tremendous amount of work that you and the artists have done, really researching the history of the site and what took place there. So thank you. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple. First, based on what you're saying, my understanding is that the material will be the same. It's just the images have
Correct,
been.
correct, yep.
Okay, so just pictorially updates with different source material. Okay. Second question is, I think previously we did not have the inside exhibit or the outdoor totem. Though these are new elements. Question for you. I understand that there's certain budget, the 1% allocation. How does this impact
Excellent
the
question.
budget?
Yeah, so it does not. Yay. So, yeah, so the art budget is separate from the interpretive panel budget. So that they're two separate projects. The interpretive panels are required by the EIR and the public art is required by your ordinance. So they do not, even though it has a kind of artistic design sense to it, it's just more of what the developer wanted to try and achieve rather than trying to, reduce the budget. So no, the art budget was not reduced by the interpretive signage.
Got it. Thank you so much. Very
Sure.
helpful.
Yeah.
And I would just comment that actually the additional historic interpretive design, the two elements actually brings three-dimensionality to reinforce the image that we saw for the public art element, which is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I did want to add, I apologize. One of the things that the developer is hoping we can do is work with the public library. And I don't know how many of you know this, there is an interest and an effort to create a Chinese cultural center. I don't know if they call it a cultural or community center, but in Palo Alto. And land's been acquired. The building, I think, is part of the land. And so what we're hoping is that we can do some sort of QR code because we can't tell the whole story on the site here. So, maybe we can QR code to other information. They're going to be doing a HABS level architectural scan of the building, so that'll be available because part of the building will be removed as part of the development. So really just like, how can we create help to start create a repository about this site so people are, their interest is piqued here and then they can go find more information. So that's another aspect of what they plan to do out here.
Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you for the presentation. I really like the changes that are made. I like the pictures that include more of the family and more of the process that's going on. And that tiny little homage to fries, I think is a great little thing. And I'm kind of dating myself with this, but I remember picking apricots and cutting apricots as a kid down in San Jose. And to this day, apricots are not my favorite fruit.
Okay, note to self, at opening, do not bring Commissioner Miyachi any apricot pies.
But I think, echo the other comments that were made. I think the changes are really, really nice for this project. It's going to really help it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, I really enjoyed the presentation and the historical context, even the deeper historical context and all the links that you've gone to include the family and unearth some of these great images and use them. So that's been great. I just had a couple questions about the two interior pieces, the totem. What is that material and is that similar in content as like background and historical information as the other piece?
You mean, when you say the other piece, do you mean the artwork or the two, interpretive, interior and exterior interpretive?
The interpretive.
Okay, so um, the developer has a historic preservation consultant on the project, and so they did a lot of research and wrote, when I showed the list of topics, so those were the topics they put their research into. And there is other research that's available. There was a report done by the city that was, that Turnbull did that was very good. So we'll probably be pulling from that as well to, so the thinking is that the exterior will really focus on Thomas Foon Chu to resonate with the mural more. And then the interior will be kind of the larger agricultural context. That's not my project. It's until they start to play it out onto the designs and see, typeface size and content and how it's still in motion, but the thinking is that the exterior will be focused on Thomas Foon Chu and the cannery as opposed to kind of the larger picture. But I'm sure some Thomas Foon Chu content will be on the interior as well. Relative to what the materials are, I mean, they're kind of going to be dictated by interior versus exterior. So I think, unless there's a fire code, I'm guessing some sort of wood element would be used on the interior to give it that kind of crate feeling. They've just done some initial discussions with potential fabricators, but it's not at that stage yet. And then the exterior probably will be some sort of metal with a caveat of like, of course, we need to be careful about, heat. Is it a heat capture and making sure, kids can touch it when it gets warm out there. So it may end up being something that like is metal-like, but isn't really metal. So I think we don't really know yet. I think that the locations, and I will be involved in some of those discussions because of, it's what
So
we do.
So you're trying to keep the integrity of the crates, the cans, et cetera. I
Yep,
understand that.
yep.
But there's no, right now, until the research is complete, there's no, focus in terms of subject matter.
There is. I mean, that was that list I gave as far as, I mean, there's content that has been drafted.
Yeah.
But it's, it's until they start trying to put that to the display and the display capacity that we have, and then also things like, font size for readability and things like that. We may need more content or we may have to edit it out, what they have. So, and it falls in those areas about, this greater Santa Clara Valley, its contributions in agriculture, the Heart Valley of the Heart's Delight, and then all those topics of Thomas Foon Chu and his innovations, his cultural standing, all those sorts of, those are the
Right.
topic areas. And
Right.
these have been brought to the planning department, because that's who oversees the EIR fulfillment.
Right. I thought that interior wall, the crate one
Mhm.
was, there was some parameters that were set forth in terms of the historical context, right?
Yeah, there is. And I think I'd have to go back and look at the EIR language. I apologize. I haven't looked at it in a while. But yeah, and this content has been reviewed by planning at this point, and I believe that they approved the content, is my understanding.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
If I may make an editorial suggestion,
Sure.
looking at looking at the balance of all the images, I think
Mhm.
one of the things I took away from the prior version were the pictures of the children. You could see the faces, and also pictures of some of the women.
Mhm.
And all I'm saying is, since we now have opportunities inside the exhibit and you're using the language that says from its founding, the cannery sought ways to help its immigrants and working class employees. I'm wondering if there are opportunities inside the exhibit to showcase some of you know, these
Mhm.
images, these precious images that we previously had, and we were able to showcase the workers, the faces of the workers
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
part of the community.
I'll take that and answer with a qualified, I hope so. One of the biggest challenges of this project has been finding high resolution images or photographs that we can actually scan. So we're doing work with the historical societies and so, you know, I have a stack of books behind me that I'm, you know, going through and things like that. So it's a great point. It's one that I hope we can see happen, but it, you know, the last thing we want to do is have some like grainy photograph that you can barely see in there. So that's, you know, I will definitely take that point back to the team because I think it's very important as part of an aspect of what happened here and in your community. And I just say if it falls a little short, it's not for lack of trying. It's for
Yeah,
I went out to, you know, I went out to Stockton and, you know, Sylvia, who's one of the granddaughters, is like, I have this CD and I'm like, yay. And she's showing me all these pictures and she gives it to me and I take it home and I'm like, yay, pictures. And they're all like this big. And I'm like,
right. Well, I mean, specifically, I was actually thinking about some of the pictures that were from the original.
yeah, and I
book
think
art.
we do have
Yeah.
those. Yeah, I do
Okay.
believe we have those, but I'm just, you know, just a caveat that, you know, this is one of our biggest challenges on this project.
Understood. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
Sure.
Commissioners, any other comments? If not, thank you, Jennifer Easton. That was really amazing. And it was great to get the update. And thank you, commissioners, for these wonderful questions and feedback. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
much appreciated. Thanks, everybody.
Moving on to the second non-action item, Art Lift grants, the utility boxes. What's happening there?
Boxes,
Yeah,
20
boxes.
boxes across the city. So we're very excited. We had a great selection panel who went through and we had 120 applicants. And so these are the top 20 that they ranked. And so these are the artists who have been offered boxes. Their contracts are on hold until July 1st, until the new fiscal year. But they're very excited. It's a great mix of artists from all over the Bay Area. Quite a few locals and quite a few people who grew up in Palo Alto and maybe don't live here anymore, but have very fond memories of playing in our parks and whatnot. So it was an interesting challenge to try and pair the right artist with their neighborhood box. So we'll see. Well, hopefully those will start rolling out in late July and run through October. We will be bringing designs to the commission as they come in.
Elise, so at this point, you've connected each artist to a specific box?
Yes.
Oh, great.
A quick question about the Teen Arts Council. Is that a group of people or? And I'm really glad to see that there is some youth involved in this.
Yes, it is a group. They typically meet at the Palo Alto Children's Theater, but they had an individual, David Toms, who is of age to do the contract and whatnot, and so he will be leading that group under the supervision of some of the Palo Alto Children's Theater staff. But yes.
And Reyes, I see, is on there as well.
Yes, he scored very well with the panel too.
That's great. I'm glad that's moving forward. And now our third non-action item, which is our annual work plan for the council. We do this as it's called annual work plan. We do this every year and looking at our priorities that we set for this year. I'm going to go ahead and read just the following, just a brief paragraph on which projects and initiatives were our priorities. We identified the following projects and initiatives as working priorities. Expansion of the temporary murals program to downtown and midtown Palo Alto in the summer of 2024. Launch the next King Artist Residency Round. The recommencement of the next round of Art Lift grants to commission local emerging artists to paint up to 20 utility boxes across Palo Alto. Commissioning temporary murals at Coverly Community Center and Fire Station 5. Commissioning a large-scale temporary digital mural at the California Avenue parking garage. And initiating the planning of Code Art 2025 with expanded budgets, scales of installation, and potential inclusion of projection mapping projects. So in our priorities, we have a building community priority, a social justice priority, and a public art education priority. And these priorities we bring into each of our projects. Not everyone, it covers all three priorities, but I think you guys may have the old work plan that we submitted last June, was it? I believe. And so we are going to be updating this plan. And I think we're just going to open this up for discussion right now. I don't think we have to rewrite the whole plan right now, but we're open for discussion. And please, new commissioners, feel free to ask us any questions about this.
Actually, I have a question. Elise, did I hear correctly that are there going to be changes to this format or are there updates to that?
My understanding is that council is going to discuss that pretty soon, but there haven't been any decisions made yet. So I was advised that we should move ahead with the chair and vice chair, putting together a plan to bring it back, and hopefully we'll have some news in the interim. At some point, I've been told council will want to see this plan, but it may not be in June. So it may be more like the fall, but they still have to have that discussion. So we should go ahead and proceed in formalizing the work plan that was identified at the retreat. And hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have a little more information about next steps.
And then, so translating that into a timetable, when do you need,
Yes, us to complete it.
to have a working draft?
I don't know, but I can try and get you some more information. So perhaps we can connect next week.
That sounds good. And I'm sorry, Commission, I want to stand corrected. These priorities and missions were developed at our January 2024 retreat, so it's different than the current art plan. So I stand corrected.
A quick question, Madam Chair. Are we going to form a subcommittee as we have in the past? And now that we're at 7, we can have a little larger subcommittee and possibly have one of the new commissioners, possibly 2, sit on that subcommittee.
Fantastic idea.
I love that idea. So for the new commissioners, this public art commission work plan, you'll have one to look at and see. It takes a little bit of effort, but it is a worthwhile pursuit because it gives you time to reflect on what was accomplished in the past year and what you want to work on in the coming year. And so I would say it'd be great to have one of you join a subcommittee. And I, of course, would love to be on that subcommittee. Any other hands would like to go up?
I'd like to be on that subcommittee.
Fantastic.
Anybody?
Sure.
And just as a background, the public art master plan is really the basis for this. So to get up to speed, read the public art master plan and you'll see all these items there.
Just a question. So the subcommittee you're talking about forming, they're going to be bringing forward the ideas that will be the basis of the.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a pretty important job.
It is an important job. It is an important job, but the entire commission has input and does have to vote to approve it. So.
And the content generally, it was identified at the retreat in January. So the priorities of what's coming on, because the retreat is an opportunity where the commission really lays out the next 2 years of work. So some things are in early germination and some things are ready to go and some things are in flight.
So this document is a very intricate document because there are a lot of boxes. And it took us a few years to figure out what needs to go into which box. So it's a little intimidating. But having said that, we really only work on, I want to say we got it done pretty well last year.
Yes.
So it took 3 years of trying to figure it out. And but it's better now than before because it used to be in Excel.
Yeah.
For the non-mathematic. But then what we focus on are the first few pages of the text boxes. And then staff help us with all the pictorial collateral, which is much more easy on the eye.
If I may, I'm just trying to recall the council discussion on what Elise was talking about on the changing the format, and I vaguely I have a recollection. I just texted the vice mayor to see what if his memory is better. But I think we were just trying to make it work better after having it a couple of years. So out of folks who have used it in the past and might have suggestions, I think we'd welcome hearing that feedback on either from, is it the right intent that we're asking or you're wanting us to hear? And is it the right form to do it? So any reflections, I should say, you have on that would be welcome.
To be honest, I mean, this is just speaking personally. I think we were given the table and this is the same table for every commission. And I think the nature of every commission's work and projects in terms of duration, size, scope, clarity in vision or priority may not map equally. My personal struggle, the big boxes were easy. My personal struggle were trying to put the content of the big boxes into the little boxes. And I found that sometimes there were redundancy, sometimes it just wasn't applicable. So it was a little bit of trying to, fit, what is it, round peg, square hole, like that type of situation. So, it may not have been designed for the art commission per se.
Well, and it by definition is trying to be one form that works for all the commissions. I don't think we're going to have different forms. But if there are any thoughts that you have that you would be fine with putting in writing and forwarding, I'll double check on kind of who's looking at this. Now I think about it, maybe Policy and Services Committee is doing it. Okay. Thanks.
Another thing is we're happy to submit the plan, but it would also be great to get in front of the council just to walk through the plan with you. It doesn't have to be a long process, but it's nice for us to showcase what we've accomplished and then tell you what's to come. So you're familiar with the work we're doing.
Yeah, and that's also a discussion that we've had, which is in recent years, we've had fewer study sessions with all of the boards and commissions. And there are several of us who would like to see more of that. And so the study session would be both review of a work plan, and I think, like you say, for you is that retrospectively of looking at what's happened in the last year or two, which not all council members are fully aware of, and then where you're going. And then kind of a discussion about where should we go. It's sure not going to happen before summer break. We're having special meetings and it's just jammed up. But there is often a little bit of a lull when we come back. So once again, as chair, I encourage you to reach out to the mayor and the vice mayor. And even though we have a bunch of boards and commissions, you know, that squeaky wheel. So,
Yeah, my recommendation would be keep the table, simplify it, and make it a sort of a presentation style so that we have an opportunity to be in front of the city council to present using the format, the same unified format. But our concern was when we were putting this together that a lot of it would get lost in the boxes. So thank you so much.
In the past, we've also had a timing issue. Somehow the due date of this was off the timing of how we ran our cycle. Now
Yeah.
we've been shifted a little bit because of the busyness of the commissioners and we weren't able to get together at a typical time this year, but we'll try to time it with our retreat. That's what works best for us. So at this time, I see that we have Vice Chair Shen, Commissioner De La Garza, Chair Gordon. Does anyone else want to serve on the subcommittee to produce the work plan?
Well, then you would have a quorum with
Uh-oh,
4.
4.
You gotta stop at 3.
Gotta stop at
Sorry.
3. I keep thinking this larger commission is bigger than it is. Okay, well, I look forward to working with both Vice Chair Shen and Commissioner De La Garza on this. Thank you. Now, that was the, I've lost my, sorry, a little spacey. I've lost my agenda, but I've got it back now. Do we have any public letters? No public letters. Okay. How about any commissioner questions, comments, or announcements or for future agenda items?
Maybe I can take the opportunity to update the commission on, was it Monday?
Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday? Oh, yeah, it was Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We had an opportunity to go into the chamber and give an update on the process for the Public Art Commission, our responsibilities under the Muni Code, the guidelines that are established under the master plan, and our working relationship and our interconnectedness with the city council, the feedback loop from the city council and how all that worked. And I think it was a great opportunity to have the dialogue and try to bring clarity and transparency in the process.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Shen and Elise for heading that meeting. And it was really, I think it went really well. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions or comments, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you.